This is Mark Whitten.
This is Adam MacArthur.
This is Ann Yatko.
This is Molly Chung.
Hey everybody, this is Michael Yurchak.
This is Daquan Wilshire.
This is Lexi Nieto.
This is Rico Fajardo, and you're watching.
And you're listening to Spoiler Force Podcast. Set your heart ablaze.
All right, so this is episode 185 of Spoiler Force Podcast. My name is Ricky. Thank you for tuning in. This week's guest, I got returning guest all the way from Tokyo, the land of the rising sun.
Yay.
Salem, back on the show. The last time you were on, we talked about JJK. Now we're talking about Frieren. I'm so glad you were you watched this show because I wanted to review this show so bad, but I only have a select few of people who actually watched season one or read a little bit of the manga. And the folks I wanted to talk to first were like, "Oh, I'm not done with the show yet," or they don't know what to say. So I'm like, "Okay." I think either I saw you post something or you messaged me or it was something. But then I think I asked you did you watch this show and do you want to jump back on the show to talk about Frieren? And you absolutely joined in. So I'm so glad. Of all people, yeah, Salem's on the show again. Let's hear her thoughts on the show.
Of course, it's a really good one actually. I really enjoy Frieren. So.
Yeah, so before we even start talking about this show, let's talk about how it was robbed for Anime of the Year.
Yes, I think that was my first message to you after you asked me if I watched it. I was like, it was robbed. And don't get me wrong, Solo Leveling is good. I enjoyed Solo Leveling. It's very much like a shonen, fighting. The animation was really good. Even the soundtrack was well done. But I think Frieren just kind of goes in that upper level of kind of commentary and themes for sure that I was like, no, how could it lose?
I think Solo Leveling definitely had a recency bias just because it's the hot shonen right now. And of course, with Studio A1 being the one that worked on it. And right. I think they started season 2 with the theaters, they did the recap movie with the special screening of the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And it just picked off really well for that show. But I think overall, if you're comparing Frieren and Solo Leveling, Frieren had a much better storytelling arc than Solo Leveling did.
And I would say the animation for Frieren really kind of surprised me with how well it was done. I could not believe how beautiful. We get so few fights in Frieren that are serious. So it was amazing what they did with them. So it was a little heartbroken that it didn't win. And I was like, why? And I talked to a lot of people who also were like, yeah, Solo Leveling. They're talking about the first season. So a lot of people didn't even really like the second season as much as the first season. And I was like, that was the one that was the vote. The vote was for the second one. So I felt a little offended.
Yeah, I think, and honestly, I blame all the K-pop stans. That's the only reason why that show's popping right now. All the K-pop stans like the Korean stuff right now. So they're like, oh, this is a Korean-based story. It's a manhwa. So let's get Sung Jin-woo out there, with this K-pop looking face.
Yeah.
But enough of Solo Leveling.
Yeah.
I like the show, but we're talking about Frieren here because Frieren. Yeah. When I first discovered this show, I think I noticed it when it first dropped on Crunchyroll. I didn't read the manga or anything. I saw it through the promotions and stuff. I think it was through Anime Expo or something like that. I think it was 2024 when it came out. Was it 2023 or 2024? It was around
that time.
Around that time because I knew I knew it released during that time. I took the year off for sure.
Yeah.
I watched the first 2 episodes. The weeks it was released, but then I just kind of fell off. I was like, I'll give it some more time. It starts off a little slow, but man, that first episode really episode of Frieren, it made me feel like I was playing Final Fantasy and you did a new game plus.
Yeah.
And it picks up from they beat the Demon King and just Frieren in the party, they save the world, and you're gonna see what they do post of their party mission or their storyline. So I like that concept a lot. I thought that was a really cool way to start off the show.
Yeah, I think especially when I first started reading it, I was trying to get other people to read it. Every time I read something, I'm like, oh, this is going to be really good. I'm texting all my friends. I'm like, hey, you have to read this. And I think it's a concept that we haven't really seen be all that popular of what happens after the big event. And I think it's such a sweet concept that for Frieren, it wasn't the journey, like the original hero's journey, that was important to her. It was everything that happened after. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and just that the scene where after she reunites with Himmel in the party, they do their one last mission together, and then Himmel dies,
Yeah.
and it's just like, wow, that's pretty
Yeah.
quick. We're only like we're about like halfway through that first episode, and he gets buried. They do the funeral, and it was sad seeing that, like, the folks were like, she's in his party, she's not crying for him, or she's not showing any emotion towards him. And then right when they start burying him, she starts crying, and I was like, that's so relatable, because I know I have some family members that I know that went through that kind of experience with loved ones that passed. They didn't cry or shed a tear at all during the funeral or the services, and then once we did the burial, everything came out. And I think that's how Frieren, showing displaying that kind of emotion, especially as an elf, spoke like volumes to her character.
Yeah, and I think the way that they set up that first episode was also something that I've never really seen so well done, because realistically, we're just meeting all of these characters, and we're at the end of their kind of journey. So the way that they had to set up this character development was to show us how close they had all gotten in those 10 years and like this much time before Himmel dies. Because of course we still have Eisen and Heitzer that we see later on, but for Himmel, that was all we got. So we get like this little tiny glimpse of like what their relationship was like. And I think it was done so well because we're also feeling that loss with her after only a couple minutes, right? So I just thought that was done so well, because I'm like, oh man, yeah, you're right, Frieren, like you messed up. We got to go back and we got to figure out who this man was. So I thought that was really cool.
And Himmel, best boy of the show. Like, he just sprinkled throughout this whole first season, and like just seeing his character, who he was as a hero, and then his love for Frieren and his party, and him spending time with his friends, and even doing like simple things like leaving statues for Frieren, and doing all that stuff, and like expanding their times on like just taking time off or doing dungeon travels and stuff like that. Like it showed viewers like, okay, this guy is about his friends and traveling. He's like a real adventurer for like the D&D folks. He does everything, and they definitely like make viewers fall in love with this character a lot, just because like he's so cool and calm. And then on top of that, he's the world, he's the savior, he's the warrior, and I love that they kind of show his affections to Frieren, who can't reciprocate those feelings to him because of her her elf being an elf, and then like not understanding human emotions. And then that's the catalyst for her to be like, okay, I need to find out what human emotion is. I need to find out how to reciprocate these feelings to people who are being like kind to me, and not just like overlook everything. So that's what, like, once I got to that part of the story in this anime, like that's what really drew me in. It wasn't so much like dragging anymore. I was more curious about how is Frieren going to learn about like the relationships with humans, because her age is so different from everyone else. Like as she travels and as she like does things on her own time, like she could take like 6 weeks off and it won't affect her. But then like you got someone like Fern who's like, Miss Frieren, we can't do that. That takes too long. We got to get going, So I love seeing this, like how time is such a huge like part of this story. How Frieren has to learn like, okay, I can't just like take my time anymore. I have people who need me. I have people to like to build relationships with. So she's kind of like taking everything that she learned from the previous 10 years, and even with her journey now, to like, okay, how am I going to be a better elf, a better person to these people?
I think one of the really special things about watching her do all of that throughout the season too is that we get the flashbacks of the heroes party. And I think if you're kind of thinking about it, how special is it that Frieren remembers so much of their 10 years? Yes. So I think her making that realization at Himmel's funeral, obviously it's her feeling like she didn't do enough. But as the series progresses, we do see that she remembers so many things about Himmel and her party. She remembers so many of like the little moments and like remembers his personality. So it's not, I think she's being hard on herself in the beginning, but surely she didn't do enough. But we do see how much she actually did give compared to the rest of her life. Because really, for however, 1,000 years or so, we see her master, and then we see the hero party, and that's kind of the only people that she like really focuses on and that we get a lot of information on. So I think it's really cool that even within those 10 years, we see that she really was paying attention quite a bit. Maybe not super aware of feelings romantically being thrown at her, but she certainly remembers it.
Yeah, I think that's a big part for her too. Like, it's her being so like, I think what affects her a lot was like her realizing it then or like now, and then like thinking back then, like, oh man, like, it's kind of like that regret feeling a little bit. Like, I wish I could have done more.
Yeah.
I've seen this quote being passed around on social media. Like Himmel loved her too early, and then she loved him too late. Like that time again being the thing that separates them is like, they weren't in sync with each other at that time. And I like that. As like you mentioned, as Frieren is going through this journey, she's like, oh yeah, me and Himmel and the party, we did this. Oh yeah, we did this. And she's kind of like thinks back and reflects like, okay, so it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. And
I like it. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. That just reminds me, the time being in the middle of them, some of the cinematography in Frieren is really cool. But especially the ring scene. They're both standing like that, and he's like basically proposing. And the only thing that's in between them is that clock tower. And I think that's kind of symbolizing that that's kind of the only thing that's standing between them in this moment, is that Frieren knows that he's not going to be around, essentially a blip of her lifeline. So I think that's part of the reason she didn't take it too seriously. But now that she's reflecting, she's like, oh my gosh, like that was, maybe that was a little something more than I thought.
And she doesn't even like really pay attention to like small details too, like the ring that Himmel gave her. Like he knew what it was, but she was like, oh, it's just a ring he gave me, So like, I just accepted it because I think it was Stark that gave Fern something similar to that, and then she was like, oh yeah, that looks just the same as the ring Himmel gave me.
Yeah,
and, so
and of course when Stark finds out, he's like, no, I didn't know, I'm so sorry. And that's a totally different reaction as to when Himmel saw it and was like, okay, this is fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that. It takes journeying with like her adventures with Fern and Stark to see that like, oh, so this is what the party meant. This is what Himmel meant. And then like now she's like passing on that wisdom or that knowledge to Fern and to Stark. Like, hey, this is what we did. You guys go do that too. Like let's take our time and do this. I think like when they fought the dragon. Yes. And she's like going through all the treasure. She's like, oh, we used to always gather everything. We looked for everything, all the grimoires and all the treasure chests and the mimics. We did all that. And Fern has to be like, Miss Frieren, we can't take everything. No. You have to select a few things only.
I do love her affinity. Like when you think about Immortals, because I think of stories like To Your Eternity, which are also like incredibly sad, but kind of follow along the same lines of like, when you live forever, what's important to you? And of course, like Into Your Eternity, we see the orb kind of realize that it's people, that he realizes that right away because he's with them all the time. Whereas like Frieren, we're kind of on the opposite end, where she's like, well, knowledge kind of is her thing. She wants to learn magic. She wants to have all these spells, not be useful for like anything grand, but just for the sake of knowing. And then we see just one person kind of trigger her into this, oh, I think it's something else. So I think it's cool to see that shift in her. Yeah, it still stays. She's still in mimics like constantly, but
I think definitely Flom played a big part of that too. Like, I think there was a part where they mentioned like, why do you learn these spells? And even like the other elf series, like, you're learning all these useless spells. Like there's no reason to learn like flower spells and all that stuff. And Frieren's like, well, it makes people happy. Yeah, like it makes people happy. So why not learn it? And so throughout the whole show, like she's learning like cleaning spells or like simple spells that I think that would be great for everyday use. Like I think there was one spell that she learned. It was like the clean copper or something like that.
Yeah,
she cleaned the statue, and then Fern learned one at the end where it was a laundry spell. Like
she, out of all the spells from Ciri, she was like, I got laundry. And I was like, yeah, that's Frieren's apprentice. I know Ciri was so pissed off. She was probably like, I cannot believe this.
You can't
out of all the things.
You gotta be shitting me, man. Like a laundry spell? Like of all things, I can teach you anything.
So useful. Yeah. I bet they use that spell every week at least.
say I want to get your thoughts like on the overall season for just
Mhm.
season 1 for Frieren. What was your thoughts? Like just seeing the story and how everything unfolded. What was your thoughts on Frieren?
I actually, this was probably one of the few anime that I have read previously that when I saw it come out, I had no complaints. Like I had no notes. I don't think it did anything extra, and I don't think it dropped the ball on anything. I think the composer for the music, fantastic music was done. I mean, I listen to the soundtrack all the time. It's very D&D. Like the battle song for the dragon is amazing. Um, I mean, I think they did everything right. The animation for that, the mage test in the dungeon where they were facing their clones. I could not have even imagined that's what it would look like from panel to animation, which is always kind of the case, especially with like JJK and stuff. Like you can't really visualize those fights. You're just kind of like, oh, fighting's happening. But with Frieren, I think they made the magic so beautiful and was like the central point of it. And I couldn't have been happier with how everything turned out. I think everybody, the voice actors for both the sub and dub, were very good. It did take me some adjusting for the dub for Frieren's voice. It did kind of, I was like, whoa, very like mature voice compared to the sub. But I was fine because that makes sense. She's old. Like she's 1,000 years old. She should be mature. She's, she's a lady. So overall, I think it's great. I loved both the voice actors' performance, and I had nothing. This is like the one thing where I'm like, I think everything was actually really, really good. I have no notes.
It's the same for me. Like I said, like when I first initially watched this, it was a little slow at first, but like once they hook you with like the story and the plot, like this is what it's about Frieren's journey after pretty much the end game. Like, that's what that kind of thematic, like all that kind of like sunk me in. And then I think it was after once she took in Fern as her apprentice, that's when I was like, okay, I gotta watch this all the way through, because like initially she doesn't even want to train Fern. She's like, yeah, she's got potential, but I'm here to like to find out if I can heal Heiter or Heiter. I can try to heal him and give him some sort of vitality spell. And then once all that happens, and then I think it was when Eisen was like, Flam mentioned something about like speaking to the dead in the afterlife, and maybe you can go and speak to Himmel. And so once that was mentioned, I'm like, oh man, is this going to be her like trying to find peace with Himmel, or like trying to what's the end game with that? Is she going to go to heaven and be like, oh, Himmel, like express everything? Like I want to know if that's the case. That's why I started reading the manga. I was like, I gotta find out what happens, man, because that's what's keeping me like so into this story, is like, how is she going to get to is she going to get the opportunity to speak to Himmel, in the afterlife, or maybe that's like a myth, or because they could definitely pull like the trope, like, oh, it wasn't about the end of the journey, it was about our time in the journey. Like they could pull that kind of
along
trope
the way.
Yeah, they could pull that too. But I really hope, like, I'm just theorizing here. Endgame, I hope that she does find some sort of like closure. And I think that's, as she's going through the travels here, that's what I really enjoyed. Like, even like as amazing as the fights are, I'm like, great fight scenes. I love that, when she fights Aura and the other demons, that's cool and all. But for me, I'm just a sucker for like that slice of life moments, just them going to each like village, and then her and Stark and Fern, like they're just together. Like one of my my cousin Bobby, we've had him on the show, and him and his girlfriend watched him and his wife watched Frieren, and his wife was like, why is this so slow? Like, it doesn't pick up at all. Like, the only good parts of the fights, I'm like, you don't get it. It's about her story. It's about Frieren's like emotional journey as a character, and her growth, like finally realizing like there's more to just this than life. Like, there's so much more to unfold. So like, I can talk about this topic all day, but but overall,
I think too, the little moments, especially like you get to see Frieren's personality, because I think in that beginning couple of episodes you're like, oh, she's just there, like she's just living, she's just existing, she does her little things. But now that we get to see her with like Fern and Stark, we see, you know, that potion that she gets to like remove clothes, and she's like, Fern, give this to Stark, he'll love it. Like her getting stuck in mimics all the time, and her just being kind of silly in her own way. And then seeing her actively learn lessons from the past, her missing out, like when she missed the sunrise. So she takes Fern back to that place and is like, we have to go see this. I think it kind of makes us see what the hero party saw as well, which I think is cool because we're traveling with them this time.
And I love how much of an old lady she is too.
Yeah.
Like Fern has to like wake her up, brush her hair,
Yes.
put on her clothes. Like when they were cleaning the beach, she's like, "Why do we gotta wake up so early?" And like Miss Frieren, if we don't do this now, we'll never get it done. So they're like just slowly lifting the wood out the beach and like cleaning up that broken ship. And then you know, I love all the memes that comes with this show. Like the potion one was definitely a big one.
Yeah.
You know, they put whatever in her hand like in to replace that bottle. I loved all the memes. It was hilarious.
Yeah, even her just waking up early that one day, and Fern was like, everybody stop. We have to celebrate that she's gotten up early, and we have to like praise her. Like she's doing so well. And I think it's so funny to see how like Farron's supposed to be her guardian. And Fern is like, I have to take care of this small child that I've now been put in care of. I think it's very sweet.
With the show, the characters are like I think all the characters are great. Even the side characters, they have like little arcs and little moments here. But you know, out of the party that we have, you know, who's your favorite aside from Frieren? Who's your favorite out of our party?
I love Fern. I think it's such a obviously stereotypical answer, but I think the way that her arc is going, because obviously I've read a little bit further, but not too much. To see her develop, because we see her when she's very young. We don't know a whole lot about her backstory other than like she's an orphan from the war. But we also see that she's like very much from very young, like very serious. She mirrors Frieren in her attitude almost exactly to me, where she's kind of like very stoic, very like focused. And ultimately she has kind of the same goals that Frieren does as well, where she learned magic for someone else. It wasn't necessarily her own goal that made her like push towards magic in the first place. It was her want to prove to Hyder that she would be okay, which I think is so sweet. And we also see that she's already probably very good at kind of suppressing her mana before Frieren even mentions that's what she does. Because Frieren is like, I could barely find her, but yet we see that she's still very adept in magic by blasting that attack spell towards that rock. So we know that she has a good amount of magic when we meet her. But also just seeing her silly, the same way that she like Frieren is, the way she pouts, the way she scolds Stark, her attitude towards everybody. Like the second she thinks someone's a pervert, she's just like pervert, and then just like leaves. I just love her attitude and her ability to kind of adapt to whatever Frieren's doing. It just makes me think about how Himmel probably appreciated how Frieren made him look at life, to where now it's the same thing with Fern, where she's like, okay, I'm traveling with Mistress Frieren, and I need to wake her up. I have to make sure her hair is brushed. Like I have to push her out of this town, or we're going to be here for 3 years because it's blocked. I think it's giving Fern a sense of purpose, and seeing her and Stark develop as well is also very, very cool to see.
Yeah, I love seeing her, especially Fern and Stark, like just seeing them kind of grow up together, and like they're both learning from Frieren, but then they're also like, you know, through their experiences of travel and fights, like they're learning to work together in that too. I love Stark's character, just because like, you know, it's for me it's a personal thing, like just someone who kind of like always doubts themselves, and then like, he's what I wanted Zenitsu to be, like someone who's like afraid but then like a powerful, but then he wasn't like whiny though. Like Zenitsu is like, you know, 100% whiny and loud and crazy, but Stark is like a controlled version of that. And like you kind of see like where, you know, he puts on a good front, and then you kind of see like, oh man, he's actually like a pretty strong character for making that the hole, like the hole in the mountain wall. And then once he beats the dragon, he's like, all right, I distracted it, kill it. And Freeren's like, you already did it. Yeah, you killed it. And so, you know, once he realizes like he's good, then that's when his confidence like starts coming up. And then especially when you see him start fighting, and like, you know, he gets beat up a lot, but he doesn't back down. And that's what Eisen loved about him, is that, you know, he never quits too. And I love that about Stark. I think that's what makes his character, like his growth especially, so
Yeah.
good, is that like he's afraid, but he's also not scared. So
Right.
when push comes to shove, he's there, and I like that. I respect that part of his character a lot. And then like it's funny seeing him interact with Fern, because like when he doesn't give her a birthday present, right, and she gets upset, and he's like, I don't know what to do. Like she's mad, and I can't fix this, So he
Yeah.
has to like figure out how to like make her happy again, and just seeing him like go through that as a young boy, and like his background as with his family, like his brothers, and how his family were killed by demons, and how he's like trying to set a goal for himself too, and especially his promise to Eisen. Like he wants to be able to come back to Eisen before Eisen dies, and tell him the stories that he's gotten with Frieren.
Right. Well, and I think that brings up a really great difference between like his character and Zenitsu. I think the main difference there is like the shame. Zenitsu has he has no shame, where Stark has very much internalized this idea that he's a coward, because he ran when he was told to, and we all know from the outside that was the right thing to do. You were a child, you weren't going to live through that. But I think he kind of internalized that, and still does, but now he's kind of been given confidence with Frieren. And I think Frieren gives both of her apprentices, well, party mates, their confidence, especially when they're in that mage test where Fern is like, I think I can beat you. And in my head, when I saw that at first, when I read it, I was like, oh my, like what, like kind of arrogance, right? Because Frieren is like ridiculously strong. And Frieren's like, yeah, I believe you. Like, if you think you can do it, I believe you, because I always you always go above what I think you can do. And I thought that was a great moment for both of them as well, where it was kind of, we see not only like the apprentice master relationship, but on a real level, like they're colleagues. Like she believes Fern is a peer. And it's like, yeah, if you think you can do it, I think you can do it. And I mean, we see her, does she do it fully? I mean, she does it enough. So I think it's really cool to see that aspect of them as well.
Yeah, Frieren doesn't like undermine Fern at all. Like she's always pushing her to be better. And I love that. I love that part too, where they were like trying to figure out how do we beat Frieren's clone, and Fern's the first one to notice it. So like she fires a shot, and they're like, oh, so Frieren blinks. And that's her weakness. Like she blinks every time she casts a spell. And like no one catches onto that. Like, even like the older mage, what's his name?
The Denkin.
He's like, and he's one of the powerful mages too. He's like really, that's her like flaw, is that she blinks, and so he was surprised by that. And I mean, love
he
that.
even says in the beginning, he's like, if this wasn't a test, I would just leave. Like there's no point in like facing this clone. Which I also give him props, because the memes that came from him in that fight where he was like, got no mana, but like
I got hands.
That was, I mean, fair enough. I mean, that it worked. But I do think this mage test arc was kind of showing all the different facets of what mages can be. Because I mean, there's Frieren, who is like so ridiculously overpowered, but could not care less about what's happening. Like she's like, oh, I have to do this to like get to the end. She's not going to pass me. To like Fern, who's just an apprentice trying to get by. We have Denkin, who is like, he wants power. He wants, political power because of what that gives him in the socioeconomic version of the world. And we see kind of these outliers as well. Ubel. I love her.
Yeah,
I love her. She's a freak.
Yeah.
She's a freak. Her design is amazing. I love her outfit, but like also we have no real idea why she wants to be at the top, or like what's happening with her. We just know that she's also crazy strong because she's delusional. That's like her power. As long as she believes it, she can do it. We see the white-haired guy. I can't remember his name. He's a general, or a past general. He runs like part of the military.
Oh, I think it was like Wearbel. Oh,
yeah, Wearbel. So
I think the names are like Germans. I'm pretty sure I'm butchering these names.
Yeah. But we see all these different types of like ways that mage as a profession kind of functions in the world. And I think that's kind of something that a lot of shows don't really elaborate on. Like it's the party, the journey is the point. But we see all these other kinds of mages who are doing things for their own gain that kind of function within the world. And I think that's a cool world building aspect.
Yeah, definitely. Like especially like you mentioned, like the whole like social or political or like anything that has to do with like some sort of governing faction. Which is like Frieren was like, that's why I don't do any of this stuff. It changes every time. So like, what's the point of me doing it?
She holds up like a fossil and is like,
Yeah.
I got certified once, and they're like, I don't even know what that is.
I thought that was funny too, because like you need a first class mage to pass like this certain area. She's like, well, I'm stronger than your first class mages, but she
Right.
still has to go get certified. So I just like that Freeman's like, damn it, like I have to go through this, and
The
it's so annoying.
bureaucracy is still there, even for the hero party.
Yeah,
She still has to go to the DMV.
exactly. She's like, and the thing is, like, she knows Sari's there too, so she's like, she's gonna fail me. Like,
Right.
I
She's
know
like, this is pointless. She's like, I'll just go. Which, I mean, her breaking the barrier scene, I think, is also kind of, I mean, obviously symbolically, she's literally breaking like a glass ceiling. But I think her just kind of being like, well, this is a test for me, like personally, to see if I can break this thing that Siri made. And in turn ends up helping her team, but also everyone else. Like everyone else is affected by this, the shattering of the barrier. And in theory, like that should pass her. Like she has destroyed something that the greatest mage has created. No one else could possibly do. And they're just kind of like, oh, well, you can go to the next step. And she's like, okay.
Yeah, I do like this, like this dynamic between her and Frieren and Sari though, because like Sari, you know, we kind of talked about it earlier, how Sari's like, you know, why are you learning? Like, what's the point of you learning all this magic and having all this knowledge if you're not going to use it? You know, Sari's, you could tell Sari's very like about her power and her like her ability to learn like what's the strongest, while you know Frieren being much like her master. You know, it's about what you know and how you use it, and how can you make the world a better place. And they're kind of like, you know, their views on it is not like terrible, like they conflict, but it's not like where they hate each other. It's just Siri doesn't like what Freeman's doing, and in turn Freeman's like, I don't like what you're doing either. So they kind of know like there's like this tension between them where they're like, all right, you know, we're just gonna avoid each other.
Yeah. And I think it's important too to look at, we don't really, I mean, certainly not in the first season, we don't really know how Siri was raised or like who she surrounded herself with. Whereas we know Frieren was picked up by Flamel, I don't know how to say her name, seemingly when she was significantly younger. So we have this other kind of side of Frieren where we see that she was very early influenced by humans. Whereas maybe Siri was more surrounded by elves when she was younger. So we see this distinct kind of split of Frieren had a human master who was with her until she died and ended up teaching her kind of the beauty of magic and like how it could be used, whereas Siri was probably just taught the power of it. It makes me think of the mirror that is elves to demons, where demon society seems to be very set up on like your power, how much mana you have, you know, how destructive you could be. That's kind of where Siri's at in a less destructive, awful way, where she's just kind of hoarding all of this knowledge and power and wanting to be, you know, the best just for the sake of it. Though she does take on apprentices, which I think when we see her talking about all of her apprentices and that she remembers every single one's favorite spell, you do see that side of her that's soft.
Yeah, but she's still pretty tough on them too, because even her students are like, man, like she never like, you know, she's pretty rough with her words with us. You know, like I was her like one of her oldest students is like, yeah, you know, like Siri will never approve of me, or like she'll never say something that would make me like be better. She's always just brushing me off. So that's why he was mad at Frieren, like because of you, like we can't like get better. And but you know, you brought up the demons. Okay, so like I didn't think that like Frieren's hate for demons would be like this in the show initially. Like right away, once she saw that demon in that town, it was on sight. Like she was going to kill them, and it made me think of Goblin Slayer. How Goblin Slayer hates goblins, and so you know they asked Frieren while she's in jail. They're like, "Why'd you attack the demon so quickly like that? You know, like it got you in trouble." And then she goes into the background of like how Himmel and the party like ran into a child demon, and how it like lied, it deceived its way into a family. and then they let it live, and then when they came back, it killed like the father or the chief of that village. And as Himo was talking to it, he's like, why'd you, I think she was begging for the life and begging for her life. She's like, oh mom, like she's saying, I
Yeah.
say this so that because humans say it. And then you kind of see like this change in Himo too, where he's like, holy shit, these demons are crazy. And then
Yeah.
Frieren kills it.
I think that scene is really interesting too, because the reason that the demon did it, in my head, I'm like, oh, this kind of shows a different facet, because she had said that one of the townspeople had lost, like she had killed their child, which is what initially started this of her like coming back and being like, I'm sorry. So her reasoning in her brain was, I want to repay this family for the wrong that I've done. So she killed the chief's family to give that child to the family that she killed, which in my head does kind of contradict a little bit that demons don't feel, because why would she want to, maybe not to make it right, but certainly to like have that exchange. There's certainly an empathy difference, or like a lack of human understanding. But it did make me stop and think of like, obviously this is still bad. Obviously, like there's still something very off about demons, but I was like, what a strange reason for her to think of and be like, yeah, I just wanted to give you what I took. So it did make me think maybe later on we'll see some more, maybe some more development with what demons' whole deal are, because we certainly see that they are intelligent and very strong and have opinions. But I do wonder if they're similar to, like, the only thing I could think of was like Gith from D&D, where they're raised in this kind of like really violent militaristic power society where they're just kind of trained from birth of like, you have to be strong, we kill things, we do this is how we function. So I wonder if eventually maybe we'll see a demon that actually makes Frieren stop for a moment and be like, is this what's going on here? Or maybe Fern will.
Yeah, it's definitely like, or there's, I won't spoil too much about the manga, but there's definitely going to be an arc where like you kind of see more in depth of these demons' characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
And but still, I think with Frieren's view on demons, like she's like, it's kind of weird. Like like you mentioned, like they both have like this logical standpoint on what they're doing, and they stand by it. But then when you put it in human terms, it's like it's not right. It's morally not right. Like you can't just kill people and then like, and you can't justify that killing by saying, oh well, I gave you a daughter because you lost your daughter, but you can't
Right.
justify that killing with it, so it's definitely a very, very gray area. Not saying that it's a good thing to do, but like for like context of the show, like these demons, that's how they see it. It's like, we're powerful beings, we can get away with it, and we did what you wanted, but then you're mad at us for doing it. And so
Right.
what's the
It's
point?
just
So like,
the lack of humanity, which, I mean, we
yeah,
know Frieren has none as well because she's an elf. So I think
yeah,
we get to see these two opposite mirrors of like, elves are kind of accepted and normalized into a human society. So everyone's always kind of like, oh, an elf, where demons are almost kind of the same in terms of like lifespan and power, and but we see that they're kind of, I mean, they're demonized, right? They're on the outskirts and they're evil. So I think it's interesting to watch that parallel play out. I don't know how much it goes in deeper into the manga, as I'm not very far, but I do like that those are the mirrors of it, because realistically Ciri is probably the equivalent of the Demon King if she wanted to be.
yeah.
um,
But I think she just doesn't kill really. She'll kill demons, I think,
mhm,
but I don't think she'll kill people. But like
right.
that kind of same thinking that they have of like just power and like just being able to, you know, um, have like no like sympathy to people, and like kind of just be selfish in a way where like they're kind of similar in that aspect. And I think what sets Frieren apart from everyone is like, because she had a human master, and because she's around humans, she's understanding human emotions, and that's why like I think that's what kind of makes her like get upset when she sees demons, because on her journey she's seen like the bad side of it already.
Right.
And I think that's what makes her like, just when she sees demons she just wants to kill
Yeah.
them, because like, there's no what did she say, there's no like compromising with them, there's no way to
Right.
convince them, because once they have their mindset, like that's it. And we
Yeah.
saw that with like with Aura and her minions, and like how they kind of were like were saying things to be convincing, and then once their plan was out the window, they just started killing people. So
Yeah.
that's where it went. And I think that fight scene too was actually really good. You got to see like Fern fight the what's his name? I got his name up here. She fought
Lugal.
Lugal, yeah. That was really good. And you got to see Stark fight
Lena? Linny?
Yeah, Lenny. They fought those demons, and the animations for that fight scene was, oh my god, it was so
They're
good.
crazy. Yeah. And I mean,
so
we
good.
see I think my favorite part about Frieren fighting Aura is not only do we see her, like we get her name, like Frieren the Slayer, which we didn't previously know. So we get this kind of background that like Frieren in the Demon Society she's not playing around. Like they know her, she's killed so many demons at this point. But we also see how really disrespectful the way that she kills Aura. It's not like she does it herself. It's not like it's a very much like a brush off, like kill yourself, I'm done. Which I think is something we didn't really see from Frieren, other than, we know that it's on site with her with demons, but we didn't see the level of hatred that's bubbled there, where she just could not, it's not even like a battle. It's her doing it in the most disrespectful way because she thinks they deserve that.
Yeah, and also like where I was gonna say something. Also like how she doesn't even bother to like kill her herself. And then also she learns like how to trick demons by hiding her mana. And it's supposedly like that's not the right thing, or that's not like a conventional thing to do. But she's like, well, demons lie and cheat all the time, so this is like this is for them to get a taste of what they do. I'm gonna lie and cheat about my magic and my mana. And so like when she does that, the demon's like, holy shit, like she's concealing her power, so that throws them all off. And I like that, this is how she looks at demons. Like she's just like in disgust of them. Like she hates them. She can't stand them. Even like just seeing like how people are like trying to, I think what really got to her was like, or this is what I'm thinking. I think what got Frieren upset too was seeing how people were still trying to live peacefully amongst demons. And she's like, I've seen what they do. Why are you guys trying to live with them? Like, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, I do wonder if we'll ever, or maybe they do kind of touch on it, like where I feel like there has to be like a big event that happened for her to have that kind of hatred. Well, especially with her master, because we really don't even see why her master has that kind of feeling. And realistically, Ciri really doesn't have that kind of hatred either. So I wonder if that's something that she picked up from her master, or if it's something they experienced together, or because usually there has to be some kind of driving force. Because I mean, for Fern, her entire family was killed in the war. Like that makes sense. But we don't really know why Frieren and her master had that same kind of like disgust and hatred for them.
I'm thinking it's definitely just on their journey for sure, their experiences with their run-ins, because like they still haven't, at least in the anime, they still haven't really shown like all the seven what was it, the seven sages. Like Aura was one, and there's definitely a few more. And like just seeing like how there's still demons that serve the demon king too, that are out there, that's still alive. So I think that's probably what Frieren sees, is like they're these people or these demons are still loyal to the demon king, and we killed the demon king, so they might like uprise, or we gotta pretty much nip them in the bud and just get rid of them. So I think that's how she sees it. But to move on from the demons here, I wanted to talk to you about like just the relationship with her, Frieren, and Himmel again, just because like there's a part in this show that I really liked, was that like when Him was doing all the statues, right? And then he tells her, I'm doing this for you because that way that it wasn't just like, we're not fairy tales, and he does this for Frieren. I think that's my favorite part between that exchange between them, is like, she's like, why do you keep doing this? Like, why are you putting statues of yourself everywhere? And he jokes about it, but then he's leaving these pretty much essentially like bookmarks for her to like to see that. And what's your, I get if you can just kind of like, can you like I guess, explain a little bit more your thoughts on this relationship between Himmel and Frieren.
Sure. So I think, I mean, how Himmel meets Frieren first is kind of, I think, what triggers all of this, right? Is, you know, he's lost and afraid, and, you know, he's a small child, and Frieren kind of shows him, you know, oh, here's this beautiful field of flowers, and kind of guides him back to where he needs to be. And I think that's kind of what triggers this hero's heart in Himmel, where he's like, I want to help people. I want to be able to do this, because he was helped when he was little. And the fact that he finds Frieren way later and probably really quickly understands just like she's probably very, very old and just has kind of lived by herself for the most part. I don't know how much of her master that he knows, and brings her along on this journey that is like the journey of his life. Like that will be his legacy forever because of how short his life is. But he understands that, I think, along the journey, obviously really grows to love Frieren, and realizes that for her, it must be so painful to even try to make these connections because everyone will just die around her. So I think he very quickly kind of empathizes and realizes that there's probably a reason Frieren doesn't kind of get attached. And she tells them outright, very like a lot in those flashbacks of like, well, you guys, you know, you don't live very long. So, so I think when we see him making all of these statues, it's just a culmination of him being, we see Himmel in he's such an empathetic character. Like he really truly understands the people around him and really goes out of his way to appreciate his party members, but also just strangers. We see that a lot of the time he's stopping and doing, you know, the side quests that are just helping people in the village. He likes helping people. And I think there was something in him that was like, oh, I'm not going to be able to help Frieren. Like, there's no way for me to be able to do it in a lasting way other than this. So the fact that he got to explain that to her, I think, is probably the most important part, because he wanted something to show that even though it was short-lived for him and for her, like he's gone now, the fact that you can hold on to a memory is almost just as important. And we see that Frieren really holds that true when she goes through and she's like, well, it's what Himmel would do, or, oh, Himmel would do this. And she goes by and helping people. So we see her not only being reminded of him by these statues, but also living her life in a way that would hold his memory true.
And I like that, you know, as each town they go to, or like when they run across people with like memories of the hero party, like they, even like that little kid that like, you know, touched Freeren's dress. Yeah. Like, you know, they still remember that. And like Himmel was upset about that. Or when they met was it the priest, what's his name? Sign. Where they met Sign, and like, you know, they were trying to convince him to join the group, and Stark's like, oh, he likes, you know, older women, so Frieren tries to,
she
like,
gets him like little
yeah, you know, she tries to like to draw him in, and she's like, well, this worked on Himmel, you know, like, I don't know why it didn't work on you. Which, that was one of my favorite flashbacks too, like where Himmel was like, oh my god, she blew a kiss at me, and was like on the ground, nose bloody and all that. I love that scene.
Yeah, I think it's a really sweet way for us to learn, you know, because I mean, we know that Himmel obviously had a big impact worldwide, but we also know there are always great heroes, because we see the hero sword that Himmel tried to get and then couldn't pull out. Like, there are always heroes throughout time, but Himmel wanted Frieren to remember Himmel, not the hero. Right. So I think it's a really great way for him to still, he haunts the narrative for sure. Which I think is great. It's in a really positive way.
Yeah. And like I've said before, that's the reason why I read this, because like I love whenever Himmel's on, like the pages are on screen, it's gonna be a good scene. Like, it's something good always happens when they show Himmel. And, you know, and I just want to give my flowers to the voice actors, man, because like in both English and sub, both of the Himmel actors are voiced by the actors who do Bakugo. So it's yeah, so like both in both funny. English and subs, or Japanese subs. So like both Bakugo actors voice Himmel, which is so, because like, you know, when you hear his voice as Bakugo, he's so rugged, so angry, so explosive. And then as Himmel, he's so chill and calm, and like he doesn't like flip out. He's very patient, you know. So was like, wow, like both Bakugo actors voice him. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I think too, when we see people remembering the party, I did notice this as well. Like they rarely ever remember like Haiter or Aizen. It's always the hero and the elf, right? And I think that kind of displays too, like I'm sure throughout time there's always been the elf mage and there's always been the hero. Like they're all their roles. But we get to see through Frieren's journey, not only that it was Himmel. We want to know who Himmel was, not just the hero, but it's also her. We get to learn more about the elf mage and that it's Frieren and not just an elf.
And I think that's what a lot of people like in the show, at least like the audience in the show, like when they see Frieren, it's always like, oh, that's the elf mage that was in the heroes party, or that they kind of have like these some summarized thoughts on her already, and so she doesn't, being Frieren doesn't like care about what people thinks. But then I think once she's with Fern and Stark, she kind of like starts showing people like, oh, that's not who I am. I'm more of this person. And then once she starts opening up, more folks like her a lot more. And like, there's like the little things that she does, like even for Fern, when she fixes Fern's broken staff. Yeah. And the guy that fixes, like, you sure you want to fix this? This is like destroyed, and she's nope,
this is gone.
Yeah. So
well, and she makes a mistake in that too, where she tells Fern, like, throw it away. Like, we'll just get you a new one. And then very quickly, she kind of has to realize, she's like, oh, this matters a lot to her because it was her master's. So then she goes back and is like, okay, we'll fix it. So we get to actively see her kind of like fumble in these social situations and be like, oh my God, okay, well, let me fix that. And then goes, and because she wants to. And I don't think she's ever wanted to before.
Yeah. That's what I like seeing, like this humanistic change with Frieren. Like she's starting to consider people's feelings, and then she's like, oh, so this is what they meant, this is what they like, this is what they don't like. Even like simple things like when they do the hamburg steak for Stark, because Stark's like, this is what Aizen and I did when we celebrated something, so they cook that for Stark, and like all their birthdays, she gets them something for their birthdays. So very, very sweet of Frieren to do that. But yeah, I think what I also like about the show, we talked about the memes too, but like, I don't know if you follow, I don't know who this artist is, right? But I'm pretty sure you've seen it, where they did they joke with the timeline of Frieren, like so and so many years after the Demon King's death, like she's with Shrek on that motorcycle. Like there's that. And then I really like the ones with like her in Halo, where she's throwing like the plasma grenades, or like she's riding like the equipment, the warthog and all that stuff in the tank. Yeah. I love seeing the fan art for Frieren. It's just so funny because you can put her in any situation, like with her age, and folks are like, why is she on so many side quests? She's not even like on the main quest anymore.
She's not doing anything important, which I think is so interesting that she decided to go on this journey. Because I mean, realistically, we can assume from the way that she is that she never had any desire to go and do all of this. I mean, we even see her master say, she's a peaceful era mage. She doesn't like to fight. Like, she doesn't want to fight. So I always do kind of love the scene where Himmel convinces her to go, because it must have been, like, how many times in her life has she been approached to go on a journey like this? It must have been, hundreds of times, to where this was the one time where she was like, okay, I'll go. We'll see what happens. So I think that's really cool to kind of just see, because Himmel could see past her nonchalance and was like, no, you're a strong mage. I want you to come with. She was like, okay, just goes.
Yeah, I just love seeing like how, when she's with her party too, like they know she's going to like horde, or like, again with the mimics, like she always fails to see which one's a mimic, that she's always getting eaten by mimics and all that. I love that, just like these little moments that she has with her party members. I love it. But as we wrap things up here, Salem, you watched the season 2 trailer, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So what did you think of season? There wasn't much, but it's definitely a good teaser for season 2. What was your thoughts on just like the season 2 trailer?
I mean, I'm excited. Like there's nothing else. I think because season 1 was so well done. And I think we're getting into an era of anime where, like, Obviously, there's not a lot of fillers happening. Like, not a lot is kind of. There are things that are added that only kind of support the main storyline. So, I mean, from what I understand, from what I've read so far, I know what's going to happen, and that's what's going to happen. So, realistically, when these trailers come out, I'm just looking at animation. I'm looking at, the way things look. I'm looking at how they've put it together. And because the first season was done so well, I can't wait. Like, I think it's going to be great. I have, again, no notes. Like, I think season 2 will be just as good, if not better, as season 1.
Yeah, same. I think the animation quality is what's going to set it apart. Excuse me. I think with what I know about what's coming up for season 2, I was hoping that they would go like maybe the Demon Slayer route, because there's an arc in that's coming up that I was like, they could turn that into a movie if they wanted to.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping maybe that's the case. Maybe give us like, I don't know, like a 12 episode season 2, and then a Frieren movie or something like that.
Mhm.
But not like with the demon, not with how like Demon Slayer does it. Like, don't give us the movie and then split the movie up. Like, don't do that. But
yeah, that movie came out yesterday here. I'm going to go see it today, actually.
oh my god. Okay, that's a whole nother topic.
I
Because
know.
like, okay, we'll just side tangent here for Demon Slayer. I'm so jealous that because you're in Tokyo, you get to go see it, and already on Instagram saying like,
Some
I
spoilers.
yeah, I know Japan, and I know Ufotable set put out that that we'll sue you kind of thing. Like,
they said 4 to 5 years in prison.
yeah, and
I was
people
like,
are
that's
still doing it.
crazy. I see it all over TikTok. I'm like, and they're so serious about it.
Oh my god! I
But
think
there's like, at my local theater here, so Superman also just came out this week.
okay.
There is one room showing Superman 4 times a day, and then there are 6 rooms in one theater showing Demon Slayer all day. So like, it's the competition's not there. Every room is
Oh, yeah.
Demon Slayer and one is Superman.
Yeah, you guys get it first, and we gotta wait for September in the States. I'm just like, at this point, I might just pirate it, because
Well, and
I
it's hard too because
I don't think there's any way to not see spoilers by September. I think by September the movie will be online already. Like,
yeah.
people are really risking putting up the movie ASAP.
Yeah. No, and when I see it here, there's no subtitles, obviously, because I'm in Japan. So I'm catching probably like 50% of actual dialogue. But I go back and kind of read the chapter beforehand and be like, okay, let me try to sit here and get that all in one go. But I mean, realistically, I'm watching it for how it's animated.
Yeah, I mean, I already know like what to expect. I saw like, I didn't see the whole spoilers that was on Instagram. I saw like bits and pieces. I'm just like, I just hope that I'm wrong with my theories, because like we talked about it before, where like, what did we think of how they were going to split up the movie? Was it going to be individual fights, or were they going to do it all at once and divide it into 3 movies? So I think based on what I've seen already, I'm like,
Yeah,
so
I know
I'm not
how
gonna say
it's split up. I know how it's split up. I'm sure we'll talk about it.
Yeah, shit, we might talk about it early, because I'm serious about like, I might pirate the movie, because like, there's no way to not see spoilers by September. I'm gonna go crazy, but waiting like what this like.
And are they
2 months?
releasing the
Oh my
dub
God.
in September, or is it just the sub with?
I think it's both. I think that's why like they're
taking a
behind.
while.
Yeah, because I think they're trying to like simul dub it quickly. And I mean, credits to Crunchyroll for even trying to do that for us, like for anyone that's like trying to watch it in a different language. But it's not fair that Japan gets it first, because we know what you guys are doing online. Like, folks are really risking jail time just to share spoilers. Like, it's insane.
I know, it's bad too. And I try not to watch it because I'm like, I'm literally going to go see it today. I just need to not look. But
I don't know if you've seen How I Met Your Mother, but like, there's a part where Ted Mosby, the main character, has like these blindfolds and like the deafening headphones on, and he just like walks around with it, like doesn't see anything. So like, maybe that's what you got to do.
I know, it's so bad. Even here, like, people are. I mean, obviously, it's people here that are leaking it, but I don't know.
Are you gonna cosplay when you go watch it, or no?
Cosplay in Japan is tricky. You can't really do it in public. It's
okay.
Yeah, it's kind of just in just certain spaces that you can do it.
Oh,
If
okay.
I was in the States, absolutely. I have a Mid-City cosplay that I love, and Nezuko. But no, here it's kind of got to be more tame.
Okay. Yeah, because I think I saw one. I think I saw a little reel online where like it was like maybe it was like you said, maybe it was like a certain space for it, but it was like a crowd of Demon Slayer, like people
Yeah, it
dressing
might have
up.
been
And,
like the midnight premiere. I think that would
oh,
probably have been an appropriate. I just got back in from Chicago, so like my sleep schedule here is like,
oh, oof.
so I was like, well, when I'm
When I'm normal
alive,
again.
yeah, I'll go and see it.
But yeah, just to finish off with Frieren, not
Yeah.
Demon Slayer, to finish off with a different type of Demon Slayer.
Mhm.
Oh, speaking on that real quick, did you see that meme with Frieren like looking at Nezuko
Yeah.
and he's like, "What to kill
Josh's alt
Nezuko?"
tracker.
Yeah. Oh my god, I love that. Like Frieren just being the Demon Slayer that she is, just
Yeah,
killing
and
any
she's
demon.
scary. She doesn't play.
Oh man, but like I said before, Free Run. If for the folks who are listening to this podcast, like go watch Free Run. It is so good. You've
It's
heard
so
me and
good.
Salem talk about it. Like I talk about how I'm like you noticed in this episode, like for our viewers and even listeners, we barely spoke about how good the fights were. We talked about the
Yeah.
story and the plot most of the time. We didn't even geek out about the fights. We were geeking about like, the
No,
story
yeah.
and how well written it was. And that's how good it is. But definitely go watch it if you haven't yet. But I cannot wait for season 2. What was it? Next year, next January. So that's gonna be
Yeah.
coming up pretty soon. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think that I've covered what I wanted to talk about. Was there anything else that you wanted
Yeah.
to talk about
No,
with Free Ren?
I mean, that's everything. I mean, Frieren is, I would say, one of the best anime, like new gen animes that I've seen in a really long time. And it's a sentiment that everyone can connect to because I mean, we're human. Our lives are short.
Yeah.
So I think even watching this, it gives you that kind of like warm feeling of like, go out there and connect with people, go out there and, you live fully Himmel the hero style
Yes.
because you have such a short time. And so you get to see it from an outside perspective. I think it gives me such a like, I got to go out and go do something. I got to go explore today or,
Yeah.
call up
Same.
a friend and
Yeah.
go downtown or something. So
Yeah.
it's a really good watch.
Yeah. But I guess that's pretty much it for this episode, man. If you have not watched the show, again, go watch Free Ren. If you'd like to follow Salem, go follow her on Instagram. I'll have her Instagram link on the show notes and stuff. Go follow her and watch her life in Tokyo, which is so again, I love seeing your stories. I love seeing how awesome it is in Tokyo too.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely go do that. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. So this is episode 185. Thank you guys so much and have a great day.